I think I say it better than Patrick Swayze, but all right, all right, all right. So how's everybody doing out there? To all you loyal listeners, welcome to Agency Intelligence, where I give you real agents inside real agencies, giving you the real agency intelligence and not the artificial that they try to make you believe out there. This is Cass, and today I have Miss Monica Adwani, and she is somebody that you're thinking to yourself, I never heard of this person, or I've seen them on LinkedIn. They've got some good stuff. Hey, isn't she about women? Hey, isn't she a Latino? Yep, you're right on all of that. And she is dynamic. That's the only word that you don't know necessarily about her. And that's why I wanted to bring her on. So welcome, Miss Monica, to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jason. I'm really
Yes,
happy to be here.
Yes. And I don't know if you're listening to this on the podcast, you're watching it recorded on YouTube, whatever it is. But thank you once again for joining us here for Agency Intelligence. You know I do what I do because I do it for you. And today we're going to talk with Monica about some stuff. I'll be honest with you, loyal listeners. I don't know much more about her than you. I reached out to her, God, Monica, what was it, months ago? And I liked her vibe. My loyal listeners know, Monica, that I'm all about the power of women. I was raised by a single woman who would take $1 and stretch it for a whole week. And, I get $1 and it falls out of my pocket. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's an unbelievable thing. And I have a presentation that I do on women, about women in insurance. And so we'll kind of hit on a little bit of that. And I want to get your take on it, Monica. Okay. Are you ready? I'm ready too. First question, you an iPhone or you a Droid user? iPhone. That's okay. I won't hold it against you, Monica. We've got an early relationship here, but I won't hold it against you. Hey, what's the last app you downloaded?
Oh, Loom.
Loom. You know what? Me too. I'm serious about that. I'm damn serious about that. I just downloaded it yesterday or the day before. It was one of the two.
I'm on the road all the time now, so I needed to be more mobile. So instead of the computer, I was like, well, how come I haven't downloaded this app yet?
Right.
So I use it all the time for like 2 years now, but I only downloaded it yesterday.
Well, and I use it on my computer forever, and I've got the little add-on to to my browser. What I get upset about until recently, Slack doesn't provide a way for you to give video. So just like you, I'm on the road and I need to say, hey, because my team prefers it because I talk so fast and I'm so scatterbrained. They prefer when I just talk on video so they can watch it a couple times and understand what the hell I'm saying. And I hated it. And I also hated it about Teams. Teams was the same way. You can do the video like live, but you can't do that. Now I just found out Slack has now come out and integrated with video in there. I literally found that out, Monica, like 5 minutes after I downloaded Loom. I was like,
I heard about Slack this morning where I was like, where was this when I was trying to do a training yesterday? And I had to basically have Slack and then create a Zoom so then I can record through Zoom, but I was doing the call in Slack. I'm like, seriously?
Right. Right. Someone finally figured this out. So, wow, that's great. That's great. Do you love to win or do you hate to lose, Monica?
I hate to lose.
You do. Why would you say that?
Because I was born to win.
Rock and roll, sister. That's a good answer right there. That's right. I like that. Inside our mastermind, I call everybody champions because we win every day. Ain't that right, Monica? We win every damn day.
Big or small, we win.
Big or small, we win. I love it. I love it. Last question. 2 things in the world got us to where you are today here at the Agency Intelligence, we believe. Skill or luck? Which would you say is a bigger factor in your life to get you where you are today?
Skill.
Why would you say that?
Because I've worked my ass off to get here.
And how much luck? Would you say luck is figured into that?
No luck.
No luck. Really? Okay. Everybody has their own answer in that. I like that. And from the little 10 minutes I know you, that doesn't surprise me. You're very proud of who you are because you've worked your ass off, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. That's right. It's not easy to get. I mean, it ain't easy to get out of bed unless you're this good. You know what I'm talking about? No, just joking. I'm just joking.
No,
me. That wasn't you.
So it's
Uh,
a lot of hard work, and this industry is not easy either,
that's
especially
right.
especially for women. It is not easy to succeed, and you have to go through a lot of hurdles to get what you want to be. So I will say no luck, just a lot of hard work. I will say I get lucky with
Mm,
good people
mm-hmm.
that
That come into your life.
that was placed in my way. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, a lot of hard work.
Good for you, Monica. Monica, take me back to diapers, high school, doesn't matter, and bring us forward to where Monica is today.
Ooh, goody. So I was raised and born in Puerto Rico, and I loved traveling. So I've traveled most summers. I traveled to Canada, United States, whatnot. My dad was in military, so we always,
Ah.
you know, were somewhere, always a station in Puerto Rico. But my dad traveled a lot, so he knew that I wanted to see the world. So
Mm-hmm.
United States and Canada was the most I made it. And then I always thought that I will want to move somewhere, but my roots with my family were very deep, and I never thought of moving. I was being successful my own way in Puerto Rico. I started college at age 17. I graduated by age 20, and in between I was going to school full time at night, working full time during the day because my family didn't have the resources to pay
Right.
for my school or anything like that. So I had to, since 16, I started working and caring for myself. So um, when I was in college, I'm in my third year. I met who today is my husband, and he grew up here in Massachusetts in Worcester, and he didn't like the way of living in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
So he always say he wanted to come back, and I was like, well, bye, see you later. Like I'm like, no, you can, like take a trip, no problem. So I stayed. He decided to come back, and I stayed behind. And then, but we kept talking over the phone and whatever. And he's like, "Why don't you come visit?" And I'm like, "Okay." So we met in New York City the first time, and I was like, "This is not for me." And he's like, "Well, why don't you come to Mass?" And then I remember in the spring, I was like, "Whoa, I'm never coming back here in April." So, but then after a couple visits, I liked it, and I started looking for a job. And from Puerto Rico, I mean, this is 16 years ago, so the Zoom wasn't existent yet. So
Mm-hmm.
I did all my interviews over the phone, and I got a job. So I moved, and the rest is history. Now I have a medical IT kind of background, so I started working on a lab here, and then I just figured out I hate it. Like I don't want to work on this field.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a position with Liberty Mutual within the Research Institute for Safety, which was working with a bunch of researchers and doctors, which kind of was my background. Um, and I fell in love with insurance, and
Easy to do.
that's how I am here. And the rest is history. I worked a couple different positions at Liberty for a couple years, and then moved to the independent channel. And I've been on the independent channel for the past 8 years. So it's just been an amazing journey, and I love our industry. It's
Oh,
I don't know why,
no,
but
there's a
just
lot of
the
reasons.
fact of helping people is what drives me. So I've been doing that in different ways. Not only
Mm-hmm.
helping clients, but developing teams, developing skills, leadership, and whatnot. So it's been a really awesome journey to get here.
And it is, and it is, and sometimes it is hard to like put it into perspective of why we love this industry,
Yeah.
right? And so I have this big. This is ironic that this goes into this, but I want to get into why we love this industry in a little bit. But Monica, so what was your maiden name?
Oh, Colon Plaud. So it's COLON PLAUD.
Oh, okay, okay, all right. And so, you know, one of the things you said was is that when you and I think at your husband at the time, maybe it was boyfriend or whatever, I'm not exactly sure, and he came to America. It's really crazy that whenever I'm an American and I hear the fact that there's someone who lives in another country, that wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, hey, I want to come to America, but you pinned it back to your family, you know,
Yes.
and I think that's something that's getting lost today in America, and you see it very huge with the Latino Hispanic community, is that deep involvement with their family, right? It's
Yes.
like I'm willing to leave my mom and dad to go to Florida because I want to live there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And sometimes I'll notice, ironically enough, I have a Latino friend that he just says to me, he says, Jason, there's no way I would ever leave my family, my mom, my dad, and my sisters, you know? And it's like, it's not even a thought, like maybe, you know? And so it's just like, wow, that's so crazy. And in a way, I think us that don't have that, I think in a way we're probably a little bit jealous down and deep inside if we want to admit it, right? Because that's such an awesome connection. And I mean, I was raised in a family that, you know, we went and saw our grandmas and grandpas and we're still very close together, but it's really, really amazing when I hear something like that. And that just shows the true depth of the roots that you have with your family. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I grew up with five uncles and aunts from my mom's side and 12 from my dad. So
Oh,
I have like 300 cousins and we all live within walking distance. So it was like a village, right? Like like the whole town was like our village. So
wow.
it is really hard to leave that, even though I only have one brother and we're 10 years apart. I grew up with all my cousins. So my older cousins are like my uncles and aunts, and then my little cousins are like my nieces and nephews. So
Gotcha.
our family is really, really tight, really, really close.
I can tell.
Yeah.
I can tell. And that's fantastic. That's a lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot of people. That changes the game. I mean, you guys have like a family reunion, and you got to like rent out a baseball field
Oh,
and
you
shit.
don't
You know?
need anybody else. You don't. You don't. Because it's immediate family. It's not like second cousins or third cousins. It's like immediate family. That's why so for 16, I mean, no, 14 years, I pushed getting married. I never got married until about 2 years ago with my boyfriend, right?
Right.
Because we couldn't decide, like, do we want to do a wedding? Because this is going to be very expensive. And we end up just, calling my parents, calling his parents. We didn't even invited our siblings. And basically, we just told them, hey, you got flights to come here on this date. You're staying for a week. We're going to Cuba. And the wedding is like 10 a.m. for an hour. And then we're going to lunch. Bye. And that's it. And that's what we did because it's too much. It was too much.
Now, time out, Monica. I think you said it. Did you say Cuba? Is that where you got married?
Yes, I got married in Massachusetts, but I went to Cuba for the rest of
Honeymoon kind of thing?
the honeymoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was more like an amazing trip without the kid.
Where did you go?
So we went to Havana,
Mm-hmm.
and then we took a trip through the tobacco factories, and we went to
Mm-hmm.
the beach, and that
Mm.
was right before the band was put in place. So we were so scared, we didn't know we were going to be able to come back. And
Correct.
like basically 2 days after we came back, the band was put in place again.
Did you go to, I never say it is right, Veradero?
No,
Is that-
I
where-
didn't.
Oh, you know, okay. Because a lot of those beaches, it's hard to find a beach around the Havana area. You got to actually kind of travel a little bit. A lot of
Yes,
people don't
you do.
realize that.
You
Yeah.
do. And we were a little scared too. Like I mean, we speak the language and
Mm-hmm.
it was fine for us.
That's
But at the same time, you got to be careful. So we kind of kept to certain places that we know if something happened, we could
yeah.
get back quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little skeptical of like, not being familiar, but
Right.
it was like being home. Cuba looks a lot like Puerto Rico and San Juan. It's just stopped in time. It's basically like 70 years ago, how it looked like. So
Yeah.
it was kind of shocking, but at the same time, it was a really rich experience.
So that you know that that's my heart. So Cuba is my spot. So I've traveled there 9 times. I do a lot of Hispanic work there. I actually haven't been there in over 18 months because of COVID and all that stuff
Yeah.
like that. I hold leadership conferences there. So we will have conferences and we bring in pastors from across the other provinces, and we come in and we teach them how to be a pastor and the type of things that they need to do. Now I don't. I'm just the dude who puts it together, and we bring in these pastors from America. Um, and then yeah, that is my spot. That's why when you said Cuba, if I could, and I'm hopeful in the next 5 to 10 years we'll be able to. I literally want to live like most of my life there and just help build churches, because a lot of the things is it's not like I just have this deep desire to build churches. I like building things,
Mm-hmm.
anything, businesses or anything, and I like helping them understand how to build things.
Okay.
Because it's just not part of their psyche. They're not a capitalist. They've always, you know how it is there.
No.
So they don't think like that sometimes. True story. I'm talking with a shoe store owner, and I explained to my buddies in America, it doesn't look like our shoe stores, right? But this guy, he is ordering these shoes, and he's ordering them from China, and he's got like 5 or 6 pair of each size. But I noticed that from the sizes like 6 to 9 he never had any. And so I went to he shows me the back in his room, and he says, I need to order some more shoes. And we open up the back of his business to his room, and he has tons of shoes. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, dude, I was like, you have a lot of shoes here. Like, and he says, yeah, I have to, because I have to get 6, 7, 8s, and 9s. And I was like, well, can't you just order 6, 7, 8s, and 9s? He was like, no. He's like, you got to order all of them. You got to order 2 through 11.
Yeah.
And I was like,
No.
are you sure about that? So after a day or two of me talking to a couple people, he had just opened this store more or less than a year before, and he didn't understand and didn't know that you could just order size 6, 7, 8, and 9. He thought you had to buy the whole thing. And so the dude had probably 100 pair of size 2. I'm exaggerating when I say that, but he had a lot. And that just showed me right there, Monica. I was like, wow. Like, I think that anybody would understand in America that if I just need these, this is all I need to order, right? No, they didn't. And it's not that they took advantage of them. The people they were buying from, that was then buying from China, that's what they were doing. You know what I mean? And just
When it
littlest
comes
things
to
like that they don't understand.
when it comes to business, they are not
No.
well versed. But when it comes to anthropology, history, medical
Yes.
medicine, they
Yes.
are the best. Like they are the
Modern
best.
medicine.
I went to one of their, I mean, I didn't go into the facility, but I did ask our tour guide to take us through like the education, medical, all those
Hmm.
places. And that was top of the line. And they're funded very well. Like healthcare there is free, and they have like innovation labs that are nothing like the ones here. So
They
it's
do.
very interesting to kind of like see all those differences where like there is not a lot of commerce, there is not a lot of business, but they are able to shine on other areas and continue their economy in different ways.
Yep.
So that was very impressive to me. Maybe I'll connect you with my uncle. My uncle is a pastor here, and he does a lot of missions
I
in
love it.
South America.
I've met 3 famous people in the airport of Cuba. 3 famous actors that we all know in the airports of Cuba. When I'm leaving, they're riding the same plane. I found out after I met the second one that why they come there is because their kids are in film school. And like some of the best film schools in the world are in Cuba.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, as Americans, we just don't know that. We believe all the BS that we've been told, and we don't realize that they have a great education system, that they have a great healthcare system, that they have one of the best filming schools in America, or in the world. And so it's like, wow, the things you learn. And I wish that's why you don't have to go to Cuba. You just need to leave the United States and realize that not everybody works this same way, you
That's
know?
right. And
Yeah. And
one of the things I found out there, which was very like an aha moment for me, is that the government requires you to finish a degree in college and university, and it's totally free.
Totally free.
But
And
they
I asked him what
require you to.
they require, and like most people there know 5 or 6 languages. And so I said to this one guy, the very first time I was there, I was like, man, you know a lot of languages. I was like, I can't believe that you know so many. And he said, well, how many do you know? And I said, one, and barely that, English, you know? I said, that's it. And I said, why do you know so many? And he said, tourism is our main attraction. So
Yeah.
when people come here, it would be only polite that we could speak their language. Monica, think of the way we think as Americans. Well, if you come to our country, you better speak our language, you know?
Yeah.
Completely mind shift into the
Yeah.
way that you can look at things, you know? All right, I can go on forever. Sorry about that, loyal listeners. Loyal listeners get to hear me enough on that, especially during my Cuba trips. But yeah, fantastic time, and I did not know about that about Monica. I just feel closer to you already, and I'm being serious about that. So, Monica, why do we think that this is the greatest industry that God ever created? That's my words.
Well, I do think that our industry has a lot of involvement, not just on the economy, but when it comes to politics, when it comes to, um, the global health overall, when it comes to, the taking care of other countries, when it comes to food, when it comes to redefining um, the plantations of the, foresting papers. Like it's so much, so much that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Mm-hmm.
don't know, like most people don't know that our industry has investments and actually has a hand on many other industries out there. So from politics to basically, ecology and whatnot, I just love that we are able to help many other people with just what we create and just
Mm-hmm.
protecting people because we're
Yeah.
here to protect people. Most people think that we're here to take their money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to pay for insurance. It's totally fine.
I
That's
know.
on
I
you.
get you. I get it. Yeah.
That's on you. But
Mm-hmm.
we're here to protect you, right? We're here to
Mm-hmm.
protect them and to protect them financially. And I think, growing up in a place because Puerto Rico insurance is just breaking ground there, maybe 10 years ago. I grew up in a place where insurance is like, well, you hit the car, well, better go to the mechanic down the road and fix it. Like, it's no, like, not at all. Like, it's non-existent, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like, we only have like compulsory coverage, and you just go to the state office, and if something happened with the puddle, well, you better spend your day there, take the day off, and see if they can pay it. It's just it's very different. So knowing that financially you can provide a cushion for people, I think that's one of the main aspects of why I love this industry. It's just beautiful. I just like it. I don't know. I know I keep
No, 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 no. That's a
keep
great.
going around and around, but I
No,
just
no, no.
love
You're
it.
not. No, you're not. This is so. What you? I love what you say there about the fact that the people don't understand, and people just don't. The general public, as to how important insurance is, right? So whenever I hire producers, one of the first things we discuss for literally the first whole day is what is risk and what is insurance. And it's really one of my most favorite days because of the way that they come away from this, Monica. They come away from it like, oh, I didn't realize that. Like I explained to them, in the middle of New York, there is a skyscraper that needs to be brought down. Okay. And there is a company that says, hey, we'll take the skyscraper down. I said, what happens if that skyscraper doesn't come down the right way and falls onto another skyscraper and falls onto another one and does $100 million or $1 billion in damage? What would happen? And they're like, well, I guess there'd be insurance, you know? Well, what if there wasn't insurance? Do you think that could ever happen? And you'll see their brains kind of turn and going, Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense, right? Like, yeah, like nothing in the world could happen unless someone came along and said, "Hey, if you want to take down that skyscraper, pay us a little bit of money and we'll take on the risk of if that happens." Like
Right.
nothing could ever happen. Nothing. Cars, nothing could ever happen. And you got to think about it like your health. What things would you be less likely to do if you knew that you got hurt and you were on the hook for $200,000, right? And so it's like they just don't understand. Now, as agents, this ties back to what we were talking about. Why would Jason think it's the best in the insurance industry, or Monica would think? A lot of times people will tell you that it has to do with residual income, right? I mean, let's be honest. So Monica, I'm talking with this guy yesterday. He's in my office. He's trying to sell me on logos and stuff like that. He's a branding guy, right? And he's in the chamber, so he's there just to sell me, but he's there, we're talking and communicating. And he asked me about his business. Somebody wants to buy his business. And I said, well, I can't. And he's asking me how much I think it would be worth. And I said, well, I don't really know. I'm not in that business. And I said, this is what it is for insurance or whatever. I said, but the difference with insurance is ours is residual. And he's like, well, I think mine is too. And this is something I have said for my whole life. Like people that aren't in insurance don't understand what we mean with residual income. I said to him, I said, well, let me ask you a question. So right now you go home, go to your office, lock up your office and leave and come back in 1 year. How many clients do you have? And he was like, well, I wouldn't have any, dude. I said, then that's not residual income. Monica, if you really think about it, loyal listeners, if you went into my agency and I locked the door on January 1st and I came back on December 31st, I would have probably anywhere between 75 to 85% of my clients because only 10 to 15% of them ever call me. And if they do call me and they can't get a hold of me, they just call the carrier. But they would never necessarily know that I'm not even in business. That, I told the guy, is residual income. Okay, that is what residual income is. Now, let's talk about that though. Let's take it a little deeper, Monica. If residual income is the reason why we may think, or one of the main reasons why we would think this industry is so great. Let's be honest, we don't do it for money, but we do it for money because it makes us very, very, it makes our lives a lot easier. Let's just say that. Who handles those renewals, which we would call residual income? CSRs,
CSRs,
account managers,
managers. Yeah.
senior account managers. And I don't know this true statistic, but I would be willing to bet that 80 to 90% of those are women.
Mm-hmm.
So we could make a case that the greatest industry ever created by God is because of women. See how you tie that together, Monica? I ain't silly.
I was like, I'm not sure where he's going with this, but it makes sense.
It does make sense. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, because I think if we didn't have women in this industry, men can't do what these account managers can do. I'm sorry. Okay, there are some. I'm not loyal listeners, not a broad brushstroke here, but the characteristics of caring and sharing and being compassionate and multitasking, these are not characteristics of men. And doesn't mean that we're saying one's better than the other in this political world we live in today. That's not the conversation we're having. We're just talking about the fact that, would we say then that because a lot of men are salespeople, would that mean? I think that some of the best salespeople are women. I really, truly do. Monica, you guys can get into places I can't. I can go talk to some business owner, whether it's a woman, male, doesn't matter. And they'll be like, oh, yeah. I see women walk in there and it's just, I don't know if it's because they're not used to seeing a woman professional in the insurance industry. I don't know what it is, but even a lot of high-powered women I've talked to before, they'll be like, oh yeah, I could out-prospect you in a minute. And they can. And so I'm starting to look at this. I'm thinking, I think this thing is a woman-dominated industry. It's just the old stale male and pale white guys smoking the stogies in the back room haven't figured it out yet, Monica. You know?
Well, I think the nurturing factor that we come
Nurturing.
with when we're born, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things that make us more vulnerable to be able to acquire these type of positions and make sure that people is feeling that they are important, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a very easy, I will say, women have a very easy way to make people feel important and cared for.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us are more direct than others. Like I can tell you that I have no filter and I will tell you as is, but I will tell it to you very nicely,
That's right.
But because I'm Puerto Rican and I'm loud, I'm allowed. So,
I love it. I love it.
so I think there is this factor also of comfort where some women are very comfortable just doing that a specific role of
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna care for the client. And I think through the past 100 years, because we are caretakers by nature, that we
Mm-hmm.
are very very comfortable doing those roles. Now there is a new generation, the one before me and mine, that we're a little bit more aggressive and we want
Mm-hmm.
more because we've been
Mm-hmm.
taught that we have to fight for what we want and that
Mm-hmm.
we should go for what we want, right? So there
Mm-hmm.
is a new generation of leaders rising, that now it's taking over from the
I agree.
white male dominated agency owned or
Mm-hmm.
CEO positions. But it's still a problem because there is not enough of us, men or women, in the industry now growing into it. So what are we gonna do about it? That's the big question. But I think as women, we are doing a very good job changing a little bit the image about the industry and letting everybody know that, hey, you can certainly make it. You
You're
just
damn right you
you have to
can.
work hard, but you can make it.
And, I say that in the next 200 years, we will have more women presidents than we do men. And whenever I say that, whenever I have my little speech, I'm actually looking for something here that has to do with Vonda Copeland, one of my favorite people in the world. She sent this to me, and I'm trying to find it, and I can't find it. One of the things that I think is very, very important to realize is I think it has to do with our societal change. Right? You talked about the last 100 years, which I thought was important. So think, and loyal listeners, this is to you. I'm just speaking here broadly. Think of caveman days, right? Think of the characteristics I needed versus the woman needed, right? I was strong. I could go out and wrestle a bear. Thank God they don't depend on me to do that today, or we would starve, Monica. Okay, so I could wrestle the bear, right? But like we had some kids, and I needed you to stay home and take care of them and be that nurturer and all the stuff that was there. And so we've just kind of grown up in this world for the last 1,000, 3,000, 5,000 years. And then now we get to this point in history, especially starting in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, where the woman now can look at the man and say, hey, it's great you can get food, but there's a grocery store down the road, right? I don't need you necessarily for that. And I think also as men, we got to the point to say, well, if you're going to go out and do your thing, well, maybe I can be the nurturer, right? And so, and it's only not that way more because we look at it as, oh man, you're a stay-at-home mom or whatever. In a way, I think that would be awesome. I could never do it. I really couldn't. But I think that that's some of the differences we have today. And so when we look at that societal change, think of how that plays out in politics. That's why I say in the next 200 years, we're becoming a society that doesn't go to world wars anymore. I'm not saying we never could. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying we look for every diplomatic way we possibly can. And being diplomatic is almost in that nurturing type of thing. Let's not get bent out of shape here. Let's actually look at what's going on. Let's try to come together and talk. And that has been, huh?
Compromises.
Compromises. That's right. And yeah. So, anyways, I know we kind of beat that up, but I'm telling you, I solved it. This is the greatest industry in the world God ever created because of residuals, which are handled by renewals, which were handled by women. I really truly think that. I said that at my brain share, and I got a round of applause even from guys. So I knew I was onto something. Here's a couple statistics that Vonda Copeland sent me. 40% of U.S. businesses are women-owned. The U.S. has 12.3 million women-owned businesses. U.S. Women-owned businesses generate $1.8 trillion a year. That's a lot, folks. That's a lot. There are 114% more women entrepreneurs than there were 20 years ago. We're going somewhere, folks. We're going. And that usually probably means that there's probably been less men. I'm just saying, there's only so much businesses here. Private tech companies led by women achieve 35% higher ROI. This is a study done by Fundera. And they gave 17 statistics, which I thought was cool. But here's specifically the insurance industry. Drilling down to the insurance industry specific stats, according to an annual survey, businesses established in the private industry conducted by the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that 60% of the insurance industry workforce are women and have grown by 1.7 million just in the last 9 years. Wow. And they account for 60.1% of the 2.8 million workers inside the insurance industry. That was mind-blowing to me, right? That was mind-blowing to me. So to say that that's going to decrease is just not realistic, right? That's just not the realistic. So I thought that was fantastic when she sent that to me. She sent that to me the day after BrainShare, after she heard me say that. I really do have a great appreciation for women and what they do in this world. Monica, anything else? I know we kind of beat that up, and loyal listeners, I think we gave you a lot of red meat there. But Monica, as we start to close up, any thoughts you may have?
No, I think it's amazing that we are definitely promoting our insurance industry to more women. I think they definitely need to give it a chance because they can be really, really successful. And I do love to see more and more of you guys involved into supporting
Yes.
the industry per se, because I have great mentors and they're all men. And I have a few women mentors in the past 2 years, but I think it is amazing to see how we have kind of come to this balance of we all need to
Yes.
help each other, because we all bring great skill into the table, and I love seeing that we are collaborating more and more
I do
in order
too.
to push this industry forward.
Tell us in a couple minutes about what you and Troy have going on. Troy Thompson, everybody.
Yes. So Troy and I just funded a new company called Savidal. It's a virtual professional company. We are not calling them virtual assistants because they are professionals.
Yes, they are.
And we're about 6 months old right now, and doing very, very well. We're bringing a new caliber of graduates into the table for all sorts of jobs within the industry, and really, really focusing on helping, agency owners in order to be able to work on the business and not in the business. We're encountering a lot of insurance agents and agency owners that still sell, still, manage their own book, still do their own, and they don't have time to network anymore, and they're kind of staying stagnant into their growth.
Yep.
So we're stepping in, helping them create a new way, keeping up with technology, staffing properly, and basically just organizational psychology overall, so they can have a business that can run on its own, and not, depending on them for every single decision. So we have an amazing team in Pakistan, and it's been an amazing journey so far.
Monica, good for you, because a lot of the VA companies out there don't have their shit together. And I'm just going to say it. You don't have to say it. This is Jason Cass. They don't have their shit together. They really don't care. They realize that they can make a good margin off another human. And they try to push their BS out there as to, oh, this and that. And at the end of the day, they're not very good. And I think that they have given VAs also, professionals, a bad name. In the fact that they think that agencies are like, oh, wow, I want a VA. And they go find somebody and pay them $1 or $2 an hour. And then they give them to the agency, and the agency's like, what? This is a joke. This isn't what it is. No, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. I have Marvin and May who work for my office, and we hate calling them VAs too because they're literally employees. And it's to the point where I think Marvin, who's my commercial lines assistant, I don't know if he would be what we would consider a true account manager or a senior account manager. But if you're a senior account manager and you have Marvin as your assistant, holy crap, you could do a lot. He knows commissions. He knows COIs. I mean, I deal with him daily. I just renewed a $500 and some odd $1,000 account, and I barely did any of that. I had to be looking over it because we cannot make mistakes in any of that. But he knew exactly what to do and how to do it. He's done tons of my renewals. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this dude is valuable. And we also don't pay him like VAs. What I did with the VA company I was using, I just bought their contract out. Because one of the things that I had a scare is that if something happens to this company, I can't lose these people. These people they are part of my agency, you know. And May, she runs all of our personal lines, all of our services. She handles all of our claims. She's so good at what she does. It's ridiculous. And so good for you to treat them as professionals. And here's what I say. There can't be enough VA companies. I was telling this to Troy the other day. I said, Troy, there's 38,000 insurance agencies. If they all just need one VA, we don't have enough, right? So there's enough there. But kudos for you for starting it and saying, we're going to treat these people as professionals. We're going to put professionals inside an agency that's actually going to be utilized by an agency and seen as an employee and not some third party that they're just using because it's cheap labor. So good for you, and good for you, Troy Thompson. I know you're listening to this, and good for you. I'm proud of you for that. And I'm serious about that. Yeah. Troy and I have known each other for about 8 years now. And it doesn't surprise me that Troy would have that kind of direction in his business, you in his business. So good for you, Monica. Good for you.
I think one of the most amazing things that and how we came up to it is like we built this company from people and from agents to agents. It's like we don't have a piece of technology we're going after. We want to help people. Just like we want to help, customers with insurance, we want to help agents with their businesses. And I think that differentiates a lot because we know how hard it is to grow an agency and the pain points. So,
yes.
It comes with that, consultation and that, business consulting that others lack. So I think that's a big differentiator for us, and that's why we're having a lot of success too.
Monica, I really do appreciate your time. I really do. You and I, this will not be the last time you and I talk or meet. You've got some go-go in you that I love. I love this industry. I really, truly do. I say this all the time. It's allowed me to meet people that I never thought I'd meet. It allowed me to go places that I never thought I'd go. And it allowed me to give my family a life that I never thought that I could give them, especially when I was younger. So Monica, you just exemplify that reason. So thank you very much for your time. Tell Troy I said hi. Troy's probably listening to this. Hello, Troy. Thank you very much for your time, Monica.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. And loyal listeners, I hope you enjoyed this. I try to give you that intelligence, right? What we call the agency intelligence is how to get better, how to look at things differently. So this right here was Agency Intelligence Podcast, where I gave you real agent inside a real agency, giving you the real agency intelligence and not the artificial that they try to make you believe out there. This was Cass. She's Monica. We're out.